Ellen DeGeneres had a problem. Wendy Williams was saying too much. And when Wendy started connecting dots that the industry didn't want connected, about predators, about power, about who really controlled Hollywood, something had to be done.
19 years on TV doesn't change your life. It exposes you for the person that you really are.
That line, right there. Wendy was calling Ellen out, publicly, on air. Ellen's response, ice cold.
You know what I'm saying? You've been around the block.
But what Wendy saw in that moment wasn't a joke. It was a warning, a threat delivered with a smile, captured on national television.
She never expected Ellen to actually threaten her on national TV, even if she played it off like a joke.
But here's what nobody is connecting. Ellen didn't act alone. And when Wendy started digging deeper, when she began exposing the industry's darkest secrets, a second force moved in to bury her. Ricky Gervais just revealed who it was. And the answer will shock you. Wendy Williams wasn't always silenced. For nearly 2 decades, she was the loudest, most fearless voice in daytime television. Hot topics, no filter, no apologies. She said what celebrities were too afraid to say. She exposed what the industry wanted buried, and people feared her. But that power came with a price. In 1998, Wendy was working at Hot 97 Radio in New York. She had a show, she had reach, she had credibility, and then she said something that the industry couldn't ignore. She started asking questions about Diddy.
I just want to know, I mean, do you really think that every player is gay or every other player is? Are you a little gay obsessed, do you think?
I'm not gay obsessed, and every other would be an exaggeration, but I would say 2 out of 10.
Okay.
In sports, and 5 out of 10 in music.
It wasn't just a random comment. Wendy was connecting patterns. She was naming something that everyone in the industry knew, but nobody said out loud. And suddenly, she was fired. Over a comment about the music industry's open secret. Years later, when Wendy sat down with Howard Stern in 2006, she was more direct. The question came up again. Did you get fired for talking about Diddy?
You figure it out. You do the music of what was playing back in 1998 on the majority of every radio station 25 times an hour.
Okay, it's not a denial.
The message was clear. Yes, fired for telling the truth. But that wasn't the end of it. Fast forward to 2017. Wendy's talk show was at peak power. She's sitting across from Diddy. They're doing an interview. Everything seems normal. And then Diddy says something that shifts the entire energy of the room. He mentions that he met Wendy's son backstage. Watch what happens to Wendy's face.
The mother of a now 16-year-old.
Who I met backstage.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You can see it. The moment changes. She's not the confident Wendy Williams anymore. She's worried. She's suddenly aware that this man, a man she exposed, now knows what her son looks like. He's made a point to mention it on camera. It's not a compliment. It's a message.
Wendy Williams was concerned to hear that the two of them had an exchange backstage.
This is how the industry works. This is how they silence people. Not with lawsuits, not with public statements, with threats, with reminders, with the knowledge that your child is known. Wendy knew what that meant. But Ellen was doing something different. Ellen wasn't just threatening Wendy. Ellen was preparing to erase her. Here's what everyone needs to understand. Ellen DeGeneres didn't build her empire on talent. She built it on image. For nearly 2 decades, Ellen had one message. Be kind. Repeat it constantly. Build a brand around it. Make people believe you're the nicest person on the planet. Make them believe you care about people. Make them believe that you believe in compassion and respect and love. Then, behind closed doors, do literally the opposite. Ricky Gervais started paying attention to this contradiction early on. He watched Ellen's interviews. He listened to what people who actually knew her were saying, and he noticed something. The kindness wasn't real.
She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced.
This wasn't random criticism. This was people in the industry recognizing the performance for what it was, a mask, a calculated image, a weapon. And that weapon was specifically designed to neutralize anyone who tried to speak out against her. Here's how it worked. If you said Ellen was mean, people didn't believe you. Why? Because everyone knew Ellen was kind. It was her whole thing. She said it every single day. She built an entire empire on it. So when Wendy started suggesting that Ellen had a dark side, the public's immediate reaction was, no, you're wrong. Ellen is kind. Ellen is good. Ellen had inoculated herself against criticism by making kindness her brand. But there was a problem. People who worked on Ellen's show started talking. They started describing a very different reality.
She was rough. She was the C word. Yeah.
Was she just short with you? I mean, what was exactly
It was like
happening?
if you didn't pitch in her wheelhouse, then she looked at you like you had just stabbed her puppy. And then there was this process of pushing people out of the circle. First-time writers who were used to cry. There was a lot of crying in the hallways.
This wasn't her being demanding. This was her being cruel. This was her using power to break people down. And everyone who worked on the show knew it, but nobody could say it out loud. Why? Because the moment you criticized Ellen, you were the bad guy. You were ungrateful. You didn't understand her vision. You weren't kind. Ellen had built the perfect silencing mechanism, a brand so powerful that contradicting it made you look like the liar. Now, here's where this gets darker. Ricky Gervais has always been willing to name names at award shows, but there's one connection that terrified Hollywood's elite more than anything else: Jeffrey Epstein. At the 2020 Golden Globes, Ricky went on stage and directly referenced Epstein. He wasn't subtle, he wasn't joking. He named the connection between the most powerful people in that room and a man who trafficked children.
All that stuff I said in the show was true. I said, I'm going to write my own jokes, right? And I thought, who do I pander to? The 200 richest people in the room, or the 200 million people watching at home who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires? And it was a no-brainer.
The room went silent. You could see it in people's faces. They weren't smiling, they were terrified. And after that moment, Ricky was never invited back to host the Golden Globes. But Ricky wasn't the only one connecting dots about Epstein and Hollywood's elite. Wendy Williams was doing the same thing. She was exposing the industry's connection to predators. She was naming names. She was protecting young stars, and that made her a threat. Wendy Williams was one of the first people to speak out against the exploitation of young boys in the music world, and how parents were leaving their children with known predators just to be able to make some money. Like, everyone knew what kind of person Diddy was, even before news of him being a criminal came out. Wendy was dangerous to the system. She wasn't playing the game, she was exposing the game. And when the Epstein files started being released, everything Wendy and Ricky had been saying, everything that got them attacked and silenced, started being proven true. Flight logs and emails released by the Department of Justice showed that almost all of the major studios and production houses were involved with Jeffrey Epstein. But by then, Wendy was already gone. Here's where the narrative shifts. Because Ellen alone couldn't have done this. Ellen was powerful, yes, but the scale of what happened to Wendy, that required a bigger machine. That's where Oprah comes in. Oprah Winfrey is arguably the most powerful woman in entertainment history. She's the godmother of talk show television. Ellen built her empire by essentially copying Oprah's playbook, the relatable, feel-good host who connects with the audience. Ellen was Oprah 2.0. And when Wendy Williams started becoming a threat, when she started exposing things that reached the highest levels of the industry, both Oprah and Ellen had the same interest: silencing her. They couldn't do it publicly. That would look suspicious, but they could do it systematically. They could use the machinery of the industry against her. Wendy started experiencing health issues, lupus. Her personal life became tabloid fodder. And then, in 2021, something unprecedented happened. Wendy was placed into a conservatorship. For those who don't know what that means, a conservatorship strips someone of their legal rights and autonomy. It's usually reserved for elderly people with severe dementia or severe mental illness. But Wendy was 57 years old. Wendy was sharp. Wendy was still herself. And yet, she was put under the control of a legal guardian. Wendy was put into a conservatorship due to what she said. Wendy was one of the first people to speak out against the exploitation of young boys in the music world. But here's the thing that destroys the official narrative. Medical tests proved she never even had dementia.
Her team says a new medical evaluation ordered by Wendy's court-appointed legal team, finding she does not have frontotemporal dementia.
She does not have frontal lobe dementia. So that should be game, set, match.
A woman was placed in a conservatorship for a disease she didn't have. Think about that. The entire legal apparatus, the courts, the guardians, the medical establishment, was used to silence one woman. Why? Because she knew too much. Because she was saying too much. Because she was a threat. And Oprah? Oprah has her fingerprints all over the machinery of daytime television. Oprah's network, OWN, is one of the biggest media companies in the world. Oprah has relationships with every power broker in Hollywood. Oprah created the template for the kind of feel-good media that Ellen uses to hide her true nature. When Wendy started speaking out, Oprah didn't need to do anything publicly. She just needed to make sure the system worked against Wendy, and it did. Now, during all of this, Wendy's family tried to help her. They tried to get her out of the conservatorship, and Wendy herself started speaking about what was happening to her. Her testimony was devastating.
Our recent events have been unbelievable. Talk about it.
We came back from dinner, and apparently police were called. But I was told that at some point, police were called because the court reporter was saying allegedly that I took my aunt from this facility and whisked her away without any sort of confirmation or approval.
Wendy continuing, according to something that we have learned in terms of this whole situation, wondering exactly how that correlates with the statements that The Guardian has made that Wendy is able to come and go as she pleases and that there are no family visits that are blocked. Clearly they are lying to me when they say I can go out and do what I want to do. She's describing being held captive. She's describing a system that's lying about her freedom. She's describing imprisonment.
This is my niece, Alex. She just flew in from Miami, okay? I just came from the hospital. So we are going out to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Celebrate what? I don't know. I'm from the hospital. You know what I'm saying? And of life.
Right.
And this is what has been done to us.
We're good.
We're good.
We're back in one piece.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Even in that moment, you can hear the trauma. You can hear a woman who's been systematically isolated, controlled, and imprisoned for speaking the truth. But Wendy wasn't the only whistleblower the system came after. Ricky Gervais has been banned from hosting award shows. He's been attacked. He's been labeled as edgy and problematic by the same media outlets that benefit from the system he's exposing. Anne Hesh, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, came forward to describe how Ellen used her power to destroy Anne's career. Anne was told directly, work with Ellen or work in this industry. You can't do both.
Too, except I couldn't see the end of it because they ushered Ellen and me out of the premiere before it ended, put us in a car and said, well, we don't want you back here. We will not be accepting pictures of you and Ellen. And then I was fired.
Anne lost her $10 million picture deal for simply being photographed with Ellen. That's the level of control we're talking about. And then Anne tried to escape the industry entirely. She moved to Ohio. She tried to build a quiet life, but even that wasn't enough. Even that couldn't protect her from the machinery that had set its sights on her. Here's the critical question. Why was Wendy worth silencing? Because Wendy knew something. She knew the system. She'd been in it for decades. She'd worked at Hot 97. She'd been fired for telling the truth. She'd watched careers destroyed. She'd seen predators protected. And when the Epstein files started being released, Wendy connected all the dots. The release of the Epstein files, 5 years after the show, proved that everything Ricky Gervais had said that night was true. Flight logs and emails released by the Department of Justice showed that almost all of the major studios and production houses were involved with Jeffrey Epstein. In some of these studios, Epstein would present himself as a recruiter and ask the models and child stars to come audition for him on his private island in Little St. James. Wendy understood what this meant. She understood that the people running the industry, the people making the decisions about who gets seen, who gets heard, who gets believed, were complicit in trafficking. They were complicit in exploitation. They were complicit in everything. And she was saying it out loud. That couldn't be allowed. Ellen didn't operate in a vacuum. Ellen was part of a much larger system. A system that included media moguls, award show organizers, network executives, and other talk show hosts. That system had rules. And the first rule was, never expose the system. Ricky understands this better than anyone. He's been on the outside of that system his entire career. He's watched it operate from a distance, and he's named it repeatedly.
That there was such a conscious, deliberate erasing of what it was that I was talking about is what we have to look at.
Not what was done wrong, but why we were not able to talk about it then. Why were we not able to talk about love? Why has it taken us this long to be able to do it? The answer is because the people with the power to amplify those voices benefited from keeping them quiet. Ellen benefited, Oprah benefited, the entire industry benefited, and Wendy, who had been benefiting from that system for decades, suddenly became a threat the moment she tried to expose it. By 2023, Ellen realized something. The Epstein files were coming. The system was cracking. People were paying attention now in a way they hadn't before. She needed to get out. Ellen herself is in the UK right now and plans to never come back. Other celebrities are also gearing up to leave. These people aren't doing it willingly. They know that they need to get out before the lawsuits start dropping. Ellen didn't shut down her show because ratings were down. She shut it down because she knew what was coming. She knew that the protection the system had provided for so long was evaporating. But Wendy was still in the conservatorship. Even as the industry's architects were fleeing, Wendy was being held in place, held in silence, held in a legal cage. This is where Ricky Gervais becomes central to the story, because Ricky has spent his entire career doing exactly what Wendy was trying to do, tell the truth. And unlike Wendy, Ricky was able to keep working. Why? Because he was never as embedded in the system as Wendy was. Ricky was always an outsider. Ricky never depended on the goodwill of the industry to survive. That gave him freedom.
I purposely played the outsider. I walked out with a beer I walked out. I didn't look like them. I didn't act like them. I didn't think like them.
Ricky's entire career has been about maintaining that outsider status, about refusing to let the system co-opt him. And that's why he was able to expose Ellen, expose Epstein's connections, and expose the machinery of silence. And now, Ricky's using that platform to tell Wendy's story, to tell the story of how two of entertainment's most powerful women conspired to silence a whistleblower. Here's what Ricky is really saying. The problem isn't just Ellen. The problem isn't just one mean boss or one toxic workplace. The problem is systemic. It's a system that protects predators. It's a system that silences witnesses. It's a system that uses kindness as a brand to hide cruelty as a practice. And Oprah, as one of the most powerful figures in that system, is part of that machine. Whether she directly orchestrated Wendy's conservatorship or whether she simply allowed it to happen by not using her power to stop it, the result is the same. Wendy was silenced while the system protected itself. A stand-up is a court jester. We're down with the peasants laughing at the king. You've got to be in the mud with them. This is the core of Ricky's exposure. There's a difference between the image people project and the reality of who they are. And the bigger the image, the more profitable the gap becomes. Ellen made billions on the gap between her image and her reality. And the moment Wendy threatened to expose that gap, the system moved to eliminate Wendy. But here's what's happening now. The Epstein files are being released. The lawsuits are being filed. The testimonies are being recorded. And everything that Wendy and Ricky have been saying is being validated. It's not speculation anymore. It's not gossip. It's evidence. The entire brand revolved around one phrase: be kind. She repeated it constantly, encouraging viewers to treat everyone with compassion and respect. But according to former staff members and people who claim to know her personally, the woman behind the cameras wasn't always the same person audiences saw on television. That should be game, set, match. Wendy was right. Wendy was healthy. Wendy was silenced for political reasons, not medical reasons. And as more information emerges, the architects of that silence are being exposed. You might be wondering, why is Ricky talking about this now? Why is this relevant? It's relevant because the same system that silenced Wendy is still operating. The same people who benefited from her silencing are still in power. And there are still young artists, still vulnerable people, still whistleblowers being threatened and intimidated by that system right now. Ricky's exposure of Ellen, of Oprah's role in maintaining that system, of how Wendy was specifically targeted, it's not just about the past. It's a warning about how the system continues to operate in the present.
And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch, you're allowed to be nasty to people, you're accomplished, you're a comedian, you did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life.
That's the reality of the system. That's what Wendy was trying to expose, and that's what she was silenced for. As Ricky sees it, the protection that kept Ellen, Oprah, and the industry's other power brokers untouchable for so long is crumbling. The Epstein files are public. The victims are speaking. The evidence is undeniable. And no amount of be kind branding can hide what's underneath anymore. Her team says a new medical evaluation ordered by Wendy's court-appointed legal team finding she does not have frontotemporal dementia. That should be game, set, match. Ricky's position hasn't changed. He believes that no matter how carefully someone's reputation is managed, the truth eventually catches up. It may take years or even decades, but eventually, he says, the mask slips, and the public sees what was happening behind it. Ellen's mask slipped. Oprah's role in the silencing apparatus is becoming visible. And Wendy, still fighting her conservatorship, still trying to reclaim her life, is being vindicated by the very evidence she tried to expose. This isn't just celebrity gossip. This is about power. This is about how systems protect themselves. This is about how women who know too much are neutralized. This is about how predators walk free while whistleblowers are imprisoned. Wendy Williams knew the truth. Ellen knew that Wendy knew. Oprah knew that Ellen knew that Wendy knew, and they moved to silence her. That's the story Ricky is telling. That's the exposure. And as more documents emerge, as more victims come forward, as the Epstein files continue to be released, we're going to see just how deep this goes. Ricky Gervais spent his career on the outside, pointing in. Wendy Williams spent her career on the inside, trying to warn people. And the machinery of silence crushed her for it. But the machinery is breaking down now. The system is cracking. And people like Ricky, people willing to keep telling the truth no matter what it costs, are making sure that stories like Wendy's can't be buried anymore. The question now is, who else are we going to listen to? Who else have we silenced?
I control me.
Well, and you know your limits, you know.
Let me tell you something right now.
I don't need Will for anything.
That's Wendy, still fighting, still standing, even in silence. She's refusing to go away. The system wanted her gone. Ellen wanted her gone. Maybe Oprah did too. But Wendy Williams is still here, and her story is still being told.